Welcome to Sleeping with Sarah. I'm Sarah Albritton, a narcoleptic writer and comedian, and this is the podcast where I interview people in my bed, remotely for COVID, and we talk about sleep, comedy, and relationships. I'm so excited for our guest, Kym Kral. We had a great conversation. Kym is a comedian and podcaster here in LA. Kym and I talked about everything from wigs, COVID dating, socially distanced comedy, and how that's different from the way we have been doing comedy forever since. Kym's experience on several reality TV dating shows, and find out why Kym doesn't like Halloween. Kym has an amazing podcast called Kral Space. That's spelled Kral and the word space. You can find that anywhere you listen to podcasts. It's really great. Strongly recommend it. And you can also follow Kym on Instagram and Twitter at Kym Kral. That's Kymkral. We had a really fun convo, and I'm really looking forward to sharing it with you. But first, I do have to address why I took such a big long break. I know it's been a long time since I posted an episode, mostly because this concept isn't exactly COVID-friendly. I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say that the world feels completely different than it did the last time I released an episode of Sleeping with Sarah. So much has changed. Everyone is going through so much. The world feels so heavy. The news is overwhelming. We're feeling so many things. And I figured it's as good a time as any to continue to release episodes and highlight amazing, talented people and friends of mine and try to bring some lightness to this all. That doesn't mean we won't get political. We might get political in there because so much is happening. It's hard not to comment on it. But I am going to try to not allow it to be too divisive because I feel like that's a big problem. And I also want to be encouraging and hopeful. I know the world is a dark place right now, or feels that way for a lot of people. But I am trying to stay positive because that's my go-to. When I'm on a hike and I'm starting to feel pain, it's like I suddenly turn into like a positive motivational speaker. I'm like, you can do it. This feels good. We're outside. We're feeling good. I literally lie to myself in positive affirmations so that I can get myself out of getting depressed over what's happening right now. I don't know if that's a weird psychological thing that I need to work out with a therapist, but that's what I've been doing most of my life, trying to look positively. So I'm bringing back this podcast in the hopes that you'll find it positive and fun. I hope that you'll enjoy the interviews I have with my talented friends and other comedians and their crazy stories. I really want to create something that you can enjoy listening to, and that's why I decided to bring it back. I do also want to encourage you to vote. Please vote early and in person if you can. And that's enough political talk for this intro. This is usually the part in the intro where I plug shows that you could see Kym or me in person. And those aren't really happening that much, aside from a couple of outdoor shows and out-of-town shows. So please just follow us on social media at Kym Kral, Kymkral, and mine is at Sarah Albritton. That's SarahAlbritton. You can also go to sleepysarah.com to find out more what's going on with me. And please like and subscribe and rate the podcast if you really like it, because there'll be more episodes coming out every week. Okay, let's get started with the show. Sleeping with Sarah. Hi, welcome to Sleeping with Sarah. I'm Sarah Albritton, and I'm here with my guest, Kym Kral.
Hi.
Hi, Kym. How'd you sleep last night?
Good, I think. Good. I don't know. I feel like every night sleeping is different in lockdown or quarantine or whatever the hell we're in right now. I don't even know what we're in right now, but
yeah, it's like it's just like COVID life, I think. Just like hashtag COVID life.
Yeah. Like some nights will sleep like 6 hours, like perfect sleep. And then other nights I won't sleep at all. And then other nights I'll sleep for like 2 straight days.
Well, like last night, I fell asleep on the couch after rewatching Jojo Rabbit with my roommate. And so, I woke up at like 3 a.m. and then went back to my room and fell asleep. So it's just
Did you
weird.
fall asleep on the couch and your roommate left you on the couch?
No, it was afterwards. And I don't know what I was watching or what I was doing, but I totally fell asleep on the couch. And, that's just part of it.
Yeah, I just wonder, and not judging a roommate, but just wonder if your roommate was like, oh, I'll just let her sleep, or if you fell asleep.
No, he went to his room to go to sleep, and then I just stayed in the living room and I fell asleep.
Oh, okay. I fall asleep on, although, okay, so it's been super hot, right? Thank
Yes.
God it's not hot anymore at night. Like the last 2 nights, thank God. But the night that it was like 120 degrees or whatever it was in Los Angeles, I only have a wall unit in my living room.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And like, it's so funny that I can sleep on my couch if I don't want to. But if like it's the only cool place, I'm just like laying there wide awake. I'm like, this is a goddamn nightmare. I can't sleep. And now thank God, like I have enough airflow in my apartment, like my window, like I get, like my bedroom's never hot unless it's like the 105-degree weather. And then, so it's like hot like 3 times a year. I'm going to the Valley tomorrow for a photo shoot, and the girl wants me to bring my wig, which I'm very excited about because I love this wig. But I'm like, oh God, and we're going to shoot outside. I'm like, what's the wet? Like, it's so hot. Like, I'm just.
Is this the gray and pink one or the gray and purple one? Oh, that's so fun.
Oh, I love it so much. I bought it for a Zoom birthday party where a woman I know has a ton of wigs because she had cancer. So she has a ton of wigs. And she's like, well, normally I would just have like a birthday party and we'd go somewhere, but so can we do a Zoom, but like something fun? And will everyone wear a wig or a hat? Turns out I was the only one that really committed. She and I were the only ones in like wigs and full on makeup. Everyone else just wore like a St. Patrick's Day headband. And I was like, oh, I misunderstood the assignment. I thought we were supposed to like.
Well, no, it's like as a theater person, if there is a theme, I always dress to the theme. Like I am all about costume parties and things like that. So I would be the same. I'd be right there with you. I'd be like the only one dressed up and I wouldn't care. I'd be like, I look fabulous. I don't care.
Like, oh yeah, I looked great. And I was like, what? But I don't do theme parties or costumes. I don't know. I don't like Halloween. I'm actually pretty stoked that Halloween's probably going to be canceled this year. I'm so excited.
You're excited that Halloween is going to be canceled? Wow.
I don't know. I don't know where this came from because as a kid, I liked Halloween. And it was like the one, my parents are divorced and they like didn't ever get along. But it was like the one holiday. For some reason, I have memories of them coming together and like putting my costume together and like being lovely towards each other. So like there's no trauma around Halloween. And then like I think I worked at a sports bar for like 10 years and people are dicks on Halloween. And I think it just ruined it for me. Adults are and as a waitress or bartender, the waitressing was the worst because you'd have to walk up to the table and then these full-blown adults are in like these outfits that they expect you to like give a crap about. So you walk up and you're like, and they all are so hopeful for this stranger's approval. And you're like, what do we have here? A lion? You know what? Like, it just, I think bartending ruined Halloween for me.
Yeah, I could see that. Bartending could ruin a lot of holidays. St. Patrick's Day, for sure. In Chicago, there's a holiday that they created so that they could have more people going to the bars around Christmas time. T-Box, which is the 12 bars of Christmas, which actually is about 30 bars where they would have people get up at 8 a.m. and have this massive Christmas bar crawl, people dressed up in costumes and like went bar to bar. And it was insane. Like 30,000 people did it. Like it's kind of crazy. Like,
is that, see, I would love that. And I like bartending on St. Patrick's Day. I love St. Patrick's Day.
Well, those are the two best industry days in Chicago was St. Patrick's Day and, Halloween. Those were and T-Box were the 3 biggest holidays. Chicago's a different town though. But I love dressing up. Like, wait, so do you have a favorite costume you've ever worn or just not, like you're not about it?
All right. I have 2 costumes that I've worn for probably 15 years. They're the same. Like when I bartend, I'm a naughty schoolgirl, which is basically like I have the same little like plaid dress skirt. I tie up a little sweater and I put pigtails in. And I have like the big nerd glasses. That way it's like cute to bartend. And then it's also super easy to be mobile.
Yeah.
And then
or you could reuse for like a fun little like play with a partner or something.
I tried it once. I had a boyfriend where we tried to do the naughty schoolgirl teacher thing. Have you ever role played?
Yeah, of course. I went to theater school. Of course I've role played. No.
It wasn't a thing we could do. We were like he showed up and we like tried to do it, but we kept giggling and kept being like, so what do we do now? And then it was like, how long until we just have sex? And then we just had sex in these outfits. And it was just like,
I feel like the people that have like always wanted to try something like that are trying it for the first time are never very good at it. Like that's just the truth. Like it's just
Yeah.
something you have to get better at. But it's I don't know. Yeah, I've done it before with certain people and it can be fun, but it's not something I would do like all the time or anything, but it's like a good once in a while thing. You know?
Yeah. And the funny thing is this was like the boyfriend that I was like the most comfortable with sexually, where we like were trying to break up. And then we were like, all right, before we break up, is there anything else either of us ever want to try? Like something that we've always wanted to do, but we're so comfortable together that we'll do it.
Oh my
And
God, that's funny. That's like, hey, all right, we're breaking up, but for our breakup sex, what is it that you want to try? Let's just do something. Let's get all our weird shit out of the way and try it together. That's fun.
Just try it because we're so, and yeah. And then then we broke up, and then we broke up like 52 times, and now, but we
52
tried.
times. That might beat my record.
It was like a year breakup, and I used to like every boyfriend I've ever had, we break up and they leave. And I was always so devastated because it was just like they never existed, right? Mm-hmm. And all of my girlfriends always they go back and forth. I'm like, why doesn't Rob call me? Like, whatever. And then this guy, we couldn't break up. And I was like, I way rather the ghost. I way rather the pain for like 2 weeks of not like losing someone than the losing someone for a week and then getting them back and then losing someone. Like it was.
Yeah, I had a scenario like that lasted like a couple years and it was bad. It was not good for me. And it was like we weren't right for each other, but we cared about each other and it was about the sex. Let's be honest. You just learn. You grow up and learn a little bit. We were both in our early 20s and
yeah. How old? I think we were in our early 30s, this guy and I. I had a guy though that we were on and off. He's my college guy, on and off for like 10 years. And it was so dramatic. I remember his name was Adam. Yeah. He's my first love. And Adam and I go home to Denver, I don't know, every couple of years and we'll have lunch. Sometimes he'll bring his kids. Like he's married with kids. Like it's like not sexual. Oh, it's like we're literally like, we just care about each other. Right. And I remember one of the years when we were off, I went home and all of my college buddies and I went and had like drinks or whatever. And one of them was like, oh, yeah, I saw Adam Black like 2 days ago with his new girlfriend. And then they all looked at me like horrified. And they're like, we don't know if he was with anyone. He doesn't have a girlfriend. And I was like, guys, from the bottom of my heart, I want to sincerely apologize for all of the drama you guys had to endure for the last 9 years. Like, because there was crying, yelling, break up, get back together. We're in love. He has
I had the same thing. And it's like, I don't want to do that again. Like I realize what I need now. And if I can recognize in a handful of months, whether or not that person's going to meet those things or whether, we're going to be compatible. And if it's not that, then, it's done. That's kind of the way I've looked at it since.
I find I can tell pretty quickly, even before a few months, okay. So I went on a date with a guy the other night. Terrible date. It was an all right date. I don't know. Whatever. It was fine.
I feel like COVID dates are all awkward. Like it's always a little awkward.
I dated him before. So, and he gets tested every single. Yeah. Well, he gets tested every day. So I was like, well.
He gets tested every day for COVID?
He's building sets for some TV show. So every day he goes into work, they test him. But it's like rapid testing. Okay. But it's like. And then they keep him there until he's done, and then he goes home. So I'm like, all right, you're probably the safest. But when he asked me out again, every part of me was like, you've read this book. Come on. But like, so and I knew back then he wasn't the guy. So like my internal voice is always right. And it usually tells me right away if this is but my other voice is like, nah, let's just give it a try. Shh.
Let's just have some fun, Yeah. It's hard. And yeah, I agree. Like I have the same thing where it's like you date someone and you're like, they're not really right for me, but they're like in your sphere where it's like if you message them, they'd message, like you could come over. It's a weird thing.
I'm trying to I don't know. In COVID, I've kind of learned. In quarantine, I quit dating. This was my first date since November. If I would have known that guy was going to be the last guy I had sex with in November, I probably would have A, been a little bit more picky, B, really got it in there from January till you know what I mean? Like I would have said yes to a few more dates, but I quit dating after this other guy for no other reason except for just I need to work on my own shit. Mm-hmm. And this was my first date since, and I'm like, no, I think I need to go back to working on my own shit for a little bit.
And that's how I felt too. Like, I really didn't date. Like, I mean, I've only been on 3 dates, and those were all in the same week. And they were like socially distant, like whatever dates, and just like trying things. And they were okay, but it was still like not the same. And
where'd you meet these guys? Was it Bumble?
It was online. Yeah. Like a mix of Bumble and Tinder, I think. And one was a girl actually, but, and that was actually the best date because we weren't we were at a park socially distanced. So we were like, we had a picnic socially distanced, like away from, so like we could talk without our masks on. And that was really lovely, but it's still very awkward with masks. And it's like, I don't know.
Do you hug? Do you kiss? Did you hug or kiss?
No. I didn't hug her. Like, because it's like a first date. Like it feels like the 1950s again. It's very strange. It's like, no, I'm not sure if I'll feel comfortable unless I went out with somebody maybe like 2 or 3 times, like to maybe kiss or something because of COVID. You used to only have to worry about STDs and you could use a condom and, get checked up every 3 months and everything's fine. But now it's like, you got a whole different test to worry about.
Yeah, you could die.
Immunocompromised. And so it's a bit different of a situation. So it's like, I don't know. It's a weird navigational thing. I am thankful because I did go back home I went back home for a few weeks out of necessity and seeing family. And I do have a hometown hookup that I did see. So that was very fun. So at least I broke that was the longest I've been celibate in maybe like 8 years, like a long time.
Yeah, same. And it's so funny. I just started training at a bar and I keep thinking, why did I say this to my trainer? So I had the date. And also, I didn't have sex with this guy. We just sort of fooled around and then passed out. He's a drinker, and I'm like, sure, I'll come along with the ride. And then we passed out, right? But this girl that trains me, she goes, so how was the date? I was like, yeah, it was all right. I won't, it's probably. And then I said these words, and I can't believe I said these words to an almost stranger. I can because we're comedians and we're who we are. But I was like, I don't know, man. It was a one-off. It's been a while. And I was like, not that I had sex with him, not that you care. I don't know. And then I tried to explain. I'm like, I just blew him. What? He also went down on me. And the girl was just like, okay, I'm like, we're strangers. And at this point, she didn't know I was a comedian. They just know me as like the girl who's friends with their boss who got a job there. That's it. Like,
isn't that amazing though? Because we're comedians, we get excused with like so much oversharing and everything because we're used to sharing all our personal stuff on stage. And because we haven't been on stage in so long, we'll just share it to any stranger that's willing to listen.
If I can get a laugh anywhere, I'll take it right now. Like, it's like I like held my neighbors hostage. Like, I'm going to say like a month ago, we were staying like, I went outside and they like me, like we're like friendly, but like they come outside and I'm reading. And then I just was like, oh, hello. And then I just talked for like an hour and a half and they were laughing. And then when I left, I was like, did I just talk for an hour and a half while they just listened and laughed? And I was like, the world's not your stage. You got to roll it back, Kral.
Yeah. But how have you been dealing with the no traditional stand-up? Are you doing Zoom shows? I know you're doing your podcast, right?
The podcast has really helped just to get like crossface.
You still do that in a closet, right?
Yeah, I sure do. It started out where that's where I do my voiceover auditions. So like, it was like, oh, that's the best sound quality I'll possibly get. And then it became like a weird metaphor for like, I'm in my like crawl space, my closet where I'm confessing. Cause most of the podcast the whole podcast is just like stream of consciousness where I talk about a lot of really like private stuff. It's funny, but it's also really personal. And so, and now I feel like I can't leave the closet, which I'm like, now I'm like timing it to the weather, right? Like I'm like, and also I can't be super loud because it shares a wall with my neighbor, so I don't want to just be yelling in there. And I've done some Zoom shows. They're okay.
Yeah, that's how I feel. They're okay. I'll do it if people ask me for sure. But it's hard to really get a gauge on things because you can't hear the laughter most of the time. People turn off their laughter mics, and it's like the whole reason I'm doing it is to try to see like what works or what doesn't. And I've been trying to pivot more towards writing and screenwriting right now. So that's like the main focus at the moment. because like that's what you can do.
That's the only thing. Yeah, that's the only thing you can do.
And
Well, I think I have a live show in 2 weeks or 10 days.
oh, is it
My
social distance outdoors? Is that?
It's outdoors in Agora Hills at a restaurant patio, totally social distance. Bring your own mic. If you don't have your own mic, the host has a couple that she's going to hand out. I think, like, I confirmed, and then I haven't heard anything since. And I'm like, it's so weird. I don't want to ask because right now I have a live show. You know what I mean? And I'm scared if I ask, she's like, oh, it got canceled. Then I don't have, but like right now I get to be live in like a week and I'm so excited. And I'm scared if I ask, it already got canceled. So I'm just sort of avoiding. That's so crazy. I know.
It's like the Schrodinger's cats of shows. Will it be on or will it be off or will it be?
Or what will it be like? And also everyone I know that's done the live shows so far, they're like, just get ready to bomb. Because it's a muscle.
Well, and also the thing, it's not only that, but also like the comedy clubs operate a certain way for a reason. They sit people close together to the front for a reason. There's a reason why people feel more comfortable. Other people around them are laughing. It makes them feel more comfortable to laugh. There's a reason we have dim lighting. There's a reason for all of these little things that comedy clubs do, which, yeah, sometimes it takes longer to see people and blah, 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 but like that make the shows better. And with coronavirus, having to be masked and socially distant doesn't help with hearing laughter, with having that good response, with being able to gauge what the audience thinks about it. And even in LA, it was hard enough before coronavirus to get people to laugh. Like you'd see a smile and be like, okay, I get you smiling. And you can call the person out for smiling and having their arms crossed. And they get a laugh, maybe the next joke.
And we feed off of that. Like, I don't like it's audiences live and die together, right? Like we all, as comics, we know that. Like if they think like they will laugh at everything or they are dead together. Like, I don't know why, but they'll laugh or they won't. Like there's very few. And then also the show gets more tanked because we feed off of your laughter and your whatever back and forth. But if it's just like, oof.
And I don't know many other art forms that really feed off of it. I mean, I know like theater does to an extent for sure, but like really stand up, the audience is such a big part of it. Like the only way we practice our art is in open mics, really. Like you can't
in front of other live humans. Yeah.
So it's one of the few mediums that and that's one of the things I love about it is like you get that instant response, whether they love it or hate it, you know, right away. You get that in the moment energy when they're on your side. Oh my gosh. When they're in your pocket, there's like no better feeling, but I'm not sure if that feeling can be properly replicated realistically until we have a vaccine. Okay, here is where we went off a little bit on a kind of long political tangent. So I cut it down quite a bit and skipped ahead.
I don't want to wear a mask, but you know what? Think about masks too. The seatbelt, when seatbelts came out, this is how half the country reacted.
And what about when they banned smoking in bars? Did people freak out about it then too? Were they showing up in bars specifically trying to smoke to make people feel bad?
I think so, actually.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Fucked.
See, I'm terrified. So my dad, I was raised Republican and his beliefs were terrible. And I wonder what, he would definitely be an anti-masker. He rigged his car so the beep wouldn't go off when he didn't wear a seatbelt because that's his right, quote, to not wear a seatbelt. And it got to the point when I was like in high school and an adult, like if I was driving, I was like, you can't get in my car unless you put on a seatbelt. And he was like, what? I'm like, I don't care. I'm not driving unless you put on a seatbelt. It's not your rights, you psychopath. Like it's the same with cigarettes. So right before he passed away a couple of years ago, and right before he passed away, we were talking, he's a smoker, and the cigarette companies created a paper that it burns out quickly. So if you accidentally drop your butt, it doesn't burn down half the city, right? He thought that was infringing on his rights because if he wants to sleep with a cigarette and it like bananas, and he's dying of cancer. So we're sitting there, he's smoking, he falls asleep with a cigarette in his mouth. It drops on his lap and goes out. And I was like, so it's a pretty good thing that they made that whole, the whole paper thing. Otherwise, all of us would be up in flames. He's like, well, that's my right. Like I was raised by a man who I'm positive would have been an anti-masker.
Wow.
I have a lot of Jehovah's Witness family, and they think it's the end of days. According to their Bible, it's the end of the days.
I'm not saying it's end of days.
Like the people of the conviction that heaven and hell and their sky dad is real, like those people who have that kind of conviction, no matter what's thrown at them, I can't tell if I admire that or if I'm like, oh, I'm so glad that I'm open-minded. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's a weird thing. I was very lucky because, well, my dad's Catholic and my mom's Lutheran, and I went through confirmation classes in 8th grade, and I asked, like, I was the kind of nerd that, like, asked a bunch of questions that they couldn't answer with me. And I was, like, the person you don't want on your confirmation class. I told my parents, I said, I don't know if I believe this based on them not being able to answer my questions adequately. And they were like, okay, you don't have to finish it. So I didn't finish.
oh, wow.
Confirmation. They were very chill about it. And then I had some Jewish friends, so I went to temple a little bit with them. I went to a Unitarian church, went to a Buddhist church. I like high school, I kind of just explored philosophies and religions to see what I wanted to believe in. And I think I kind of decided, like, I believe in more of a spirituality, philosophy, agnostic kind of lifestyle than a specific religion. But
when I was 12, same thing. I don't think I asked too many questions so I wasn't baptized, right? And my mom is Jehovah's Witness and my dad's Catholic. And my mom wasn't around much, so she didn't have the influence on. And my dad was like, Catholicism was forced on me, so I don't want to force it on you.
Oh, that's good.
So he's like, whatever. And so my grandparents, they died a long time ago, and they're still two of my favorite humans that I've ever met, right? And they were Catholic. So to be close to them, I was like, I would like to be Catholic. So I went through all the classes. We had this like 3-hour baptism, and like you were confirmed, baptized, and then your first confession all in one 3-hour period. And then when I got to college, I was like, there's like a joke in my family now where I was like, I think I'm atheist. Mm-hmm. And my dad was always like, that's fine, but you really need to apologize to your Uncle Steve, who you forced to hold a camcorder for 3.5 hours while you decided to get baptized that one time. And like, I did the same thing. I found the church. I went and I took my grandma my papa passed when I was 18. And then my grandma lived for like another 10 years. And I took her to church every Sunday I was home. And I didn't believe it, but I loved her and I'm with you. I don't understand the hate that comes out of a lot of organized religion. Like that's like with my Jehovah's Witness. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yes, and I think it's the risk of Zoom, but I
know, right? It's so hard to like.
I think that what's good is I think there are a lot more open Christian things that are more open, like towards LGBTQ and things like that. I feel like there are some non-denominational Christian that are way more open, but I feel like the people that I know that are the most judgmental happen to also be extremely religious and look at the Bible as fact and truth and not like a guideline.
Agreed. Yeah. Like my Jehovah's Witness family, who weirdly enough I've gotten kind of close to in the quarantine. We started Zooming and they're lovely. And the one thing that really gets me is I know that how they feel. And we haven't brought it up because I'm scared to. Because I don't want to know how they feel about. I know my cousin who was a devout like witness most of his life, came to me when he was like 32 and was like, yo, I'm gay. And I was like, no shit, man. I've known that since we were like 5 playing Barbies, right? And he was like, well, I knew the second I came out, they would disown me. And they did. Oh. And so it's like, really, wow. And I don't know their side. I just know that he was scared of this thing. He came out and he's who and it's just like, and we haven't talked about it. And truthfully, we're like 2 months into a new relationship that I haven't had with him in almost 20 years. So I'll probably wait to pull out those questions until we're more comfortable. But like, as a kid, I'd ask my mom that too. I was like, I just don't understand how a God that you love so much could feel this way about. Do you know what I mean? Like about,
it's this hate and the divisiveness that I just don't like. I think we could all just respect everybody and just understand that, yeah, we might not believe the same things, but we all would like a greater good thing to happen. Like we don't want people to suffer. Like I don't want people to suffer, like I want good things to happen to people. I want people to be good in general and hopefully do like the right moral thing, but it's tough. And that's a weird thing. That's why I've also been trying to like step back on social media. I took I was in the Artist Way week 4 recently, and so I had a whole week off of no social media, no TV, no news, and it was so relaxing.
Did you find yourself though, because like I keep telling you I'm going to start this, I haven't yet, but I am going to start it. Did you find yourself feeling withdraw? You know what I mean? Like it's like habit. Like it's a habit for me to pick up my phone when I'm in line and just.
I had to delete all my apps. Like it was not like I do not have the willpower if I had the app on the phone. No, I deleted all my apps and I made a post telling everybody. So I'm about accountability. For me, if I tell people something like that I'm going to have my podcast relaunched by September 16th or that I am, going to be off social media for a week, if I'm telling people publicly about something, then it really helps me actually like follow through with it. So the fact that I made a big post saying, hey, I'm going to do this, and then I didn't sign on for a whole week, helped.
And that way, I quit smoking that way. I haven't smoked in almost 4 years, and I was like a pack and a half a dayer. And when I quit, I told literally anyone who would listen. And every single like tiny milestone, I would post on social media. And then it got to the point, I know a girl who quit drugs. She was a pretty hardcore drug person. I wouldn't call her an addict. That's none of my business, but I know that she did a lot of drugs, drank a lot, and smoked. And she told me because I had posted so much about being able to quit smoking and how hard it is, she was like, I quit smoking. I quit doing all that because of your smoking posts.
God. And
then another customer at a bar I worked at the time quit smoke. Like a lot of people reached out to me and were like, because you're so open about your struggle with this thing, which I know it's not like cocaine or anything, but I was very heavily addicted to nicotine. It made me not be able to, in the times I really wanted a cigarette, I was like, oh man, that broad who is counting on me to never smoke again. So I was accountability, and now I'm almost at 4 years and.
Oh, congratulations. That must feel awesome. Yeah. For me,
yeah, I miss it, man, every day. I'm addicted to it though. I'm an addict when it comes to nicotine. I'd make love to a cigarette. On my deathbed, I'm going to ask for a cigarette. Go on. What were you going to say?
No, I think that accountability helps. And social media, there are different ways to use it that help. Like, but it's like a good and bad thing. Like, it's good that we keep people closer together, but also we're very distant. And right now it's socially distant is the whole thing. So it's not so complicated this day and age.
There, like, remember that like March 15th, I don't think we pictured this. We didn't know.
I thought 2 months, and if the whole country had done it, we'd probably be 2 months, and that's that. But
and that's what the rest of the world did.
And now we're doing other things like, masked dates and things like that, which are weird. And it's so different because I like meeting people in person, and that's like not a thing that's happening right now. It's like I could meet someone in person, but like I don't know what half your face looks like. I don't know if I'm attracted to you.
That's so weird, right?
I'm not trying to be mean, but like half your face. Like you don't know, like what,
I don't think that's mean. I think it's weird when. So this woman said to me a while ago, she tried to set me up. She was like, I want to set you up with someone. Like she was just not a particular someone, but was just like, I'd love to set you up. I think you're great. I think you, whatever. Right. She goes, what are your type? Now I named like 4 things before I said tall. And she flipped out at me because I said tall. It was like, I can't believe you're that superficial. And I was like, girl, I'm 5'11". Also, it was like the 4th thing I said. Also, it's important. Like if you are a guy that doesn't want to date a girl with small boobs, don't date me. We all have our types. We can't get. So like I don't want to meet someone like this because.
And also the thing is, like, when it comes to the height thing, like, I mean, like, I dated my ex who's 5'7", and that was fine. But I've also noticed, now I'm not saying it's every guy, but I've noticed that some guys that are shorter tend to have a little bit of ego issues sometimes.
For sure. Every short guy I've ever dated.
And then they're the kind of person that kind of makes you feel bad about yourself. Now, I'm not saying that's every short guy, but when you start to see a pattern after dating, now my ex wasn't like this, but he was also still taller than me. But almost, I think anyone like less than 5'6" or something that I've gone out with and given a chance to seems to have ego issues about it. And it becomes an issue because they like constantly like neg you about it.
Oh, 100%. And like, I'm with you. It's blanket statement. So I'm not saying every short guy, but I am saying every single short guy I have ever dated, exactly the same thing. Makes me feel kind of shitty. Like, not shitty about my height, but negs you. And like, I had one boyfriend who was my height. I loved him though. Man, I loved him. But he would, when we go out, he would flip out if I wore high heels. And he was in New York. So when I go visit him in New York, he was just like, he's like, everyone's going to be staring at us. I'm like, it's New York. I don't think anyone gives a shit what we're wearing or who we are. Like, and you'd have to be spectacular for me to give you a chance if you're a short guy because of all of my experience and how mean they are.
Yeah, it's a very different, and I imagine like being 5'11", it's probably a lot harder. But like I see so many things on the dating apps. It's like if you're only swiping at people over this amount, like swipe left, and it's like, you don't have to tell me who I'm attracted to, but I also like I'm a little nervous about people that are too tall, like a guy that's like a foot taller than me, or like like almost a foot taller than me. Like that's a little awkward,
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
there's like differences. It's not like.
Some people like short guys. Like there's short girls who don't want to date. Like my best friend in the whole world. God, how tall is he? He's so short. I got to say he's 5'2". No, he's probably not 5'2". Sorry, Mark. God, I don't know. But it looks like when we're standing next to each other, it looks like I'm sitting on his lap. Like that's how, it looks like I'm taller than him and sitting on his lap. But he met a girl. God, how tall is his wife? His wife is going to be 5 foot. Like, so I'm like, and he never had a complex about being short. Was never shaming, like probably the best person I've ever met in my life. So
that's awesome.
Sorry, Mark, I love you and all of your shortness.
I've been meaning to ask you just because it's in your background. So you have a cat or multiple cats?
I have multiple cats. 2, not multiple. Multiple sounds good.
2 is multiple.
And one is also trying to. He's my best friend. He's trying to get up on this high thing, and he can't. So instead, he's like, I guess I'll just fuck with whatever you have going on. So now he's trying to. And then I have a little one that I rescued like 3 years ago, who I'm obsessed with this one. And then the other one, I could take or leave, but she's part of the unit. So,
but you're honest. You're like, hey, I could take it or leave it, whatever. And
like she'll be here as long as she's going to be here. But she's been very cuddly the last 3 days, which has been nice.
And real quick, you kind of skipped over this, but you mentioned like casually that you were in a reality TV show with somebody.
Oh, you don't know about this?
No. What's your reality? You don't want to talk about it?
No, it's fine. It's just I always forget like when like we're newish friends, right? You don't know this one thing about me. I was on like 15 dating reality shows.
Wait, 15?
Yeah. A few of them never aired. A few of them you can still find on the internet. Apparently, do you know Tom Whalen?
Yeah. Yeah, I know him.
He found a blind date from like literally 15 years ago. It's on some new channel, and he tagged me in all of the like Instagram. He like took Instagram stories of this, and I was like, no. Like I thought blind date was so far past, like so far gone, way before social media. Like no one was doing that. I thought that one was at least good and buried, but nope, it's back.
So wait, which was the best and which was the worst experience?
That one's hard too. There was one that I was on. This will probably be the worst experience, and only because, well, men suck. Blanket statement. So this one never aired. It was an unaired pilot for ABC where they were trying to sell it, and it was called 8 on a Date, I think. Oh man. So as I mentioned before, I'm very sweaty. So this stuff is funny to me. This part's funny. So they put a lot of money into it. So they basically like they glammed us all up, and we're in the valley, like deep valley. Got to be September, right? So like 100, not 20, but hot, right? So they're like, we're going to film you getting out of the limo, and it's going to be very Bachelor-esque. Like we're all like just stunning, right? We have makeup artists. We have the HD, whatever, right? We're supposedly supposed to be fucking stunning. And it's 4 dudes, 4 girls. And then we meet. And then after the initial meeting, the guys eliminate 1 girl. And then the 3 move on with the 4. And then they eliminate 1, and so on until there's, right? Mm-hmm. So we get out of the limo, and they have to, pat me down like 52 times. Because I'm so sweaty. And then we go meet the boys. Now, they put me in heels this big. You know what's really funny? Todd Dorham was he's a comedian and he wasn't a comic yet. And I don't believe I was a comic yet either. So this was a while ago. And so Todd was like my height. And then another guy was like 2 inches taller, but then the other two were like short. So they not only put me in heels this big, so I'm at least, 6 inches taller than all the other girls. And they have to stop filming not once, but 3 times to wipe my sweat off and so we're supposed to have like the first impression for them to not, and they're like, guys, just 1 second. She's just so sweaty. Is there anything we can do? And I'm so tall and I'm just like, oh God. So they're wiping me down. And then one girl talks about how she likes to fuck a bunch. She's actually one of my dear friends now, but she's like, oh my God, I love fucking.
Hey, we were competing on a dating show and she said she wanted to fuck a bunch.
And then another girl straight out of the gate does the splits. And then the other girl is like this tiny, cute little like fairy dust thing. And here I am like 6'8", like just hi guys, like really. So when we go to the room where it's supposed to tell us we're getting eliminated, it's like how it pops up your headshot and like that, like whatever. And it pops up and I'm like, did we really need to do this whole thing? Like all of us knew it was for sure. And so that was fine. Like I'm funny. So I found it very funny, but then we had to stay in this house. This is the worst experience. It gets a little grim. We had to stay in this house for the duration of the time. So even if you got eliminated, you still had to stay at the hotel and stay in the basement. I don't, and it was
like The Bachelor, like
it was from the people that created that, I believe. It's ABC, so I don't know, but like it was like, but it wasn't airing, so it didn't matter. I wasn't gonna whatever, but we had to stay. So during the day, they stuck me in the basement, which is cool. They gave me as much booze and food as I wanted. Their games, I slept. It was fine, right? But then the guy got eliminated, and he came down, and he was super weird and super creepy.
You guys were all in the same house. Oh,
yeah. And we were kept in the basement together. And I took a nap day one about an hour, like maybe a couple of hours into him getting into the basement. And he was fine. Before that, I took a nap and I woke up with his hands in my underwear, up my dress. And I was like, whoa. And he was like, oh. And luckily production was so great because I went straight to the PA, who I'm weirdly friends with still, went to him, who now produces shit, but like went to him and told him, and I never saw him again. They literally took him out. Don't know where he went. Don't know what happened.
Okay. Props to them for acting on that immediately. That's good. And maybe they learned.
We know that doesn't always happen.
Well, it's kind of weird. I think with reality, they want a certain level of crazy, but like not dangerous crazy. And maybe that, I don't know. I'm not giving an excuse to it, but it's like, at least the point is they acted on it quickly, which is good. It sucks that you were in that situation.
But I appreciated that. Yeah, they acted on it. And like, yeah, I read, like, you're right. They have to. So I was on Blind Date, which is the old school Roger Lodge UPN 20 hot tub.
What's Blind Date?
Blind Date is you just go on a blind date with someone. So you meet, they film it. And that guy, oh God, that was my first time ever on TV, first time ever on a dating show. And you're not allowed to talk when the cameras are off, except for like topical stuff. So like you guys can talk when the cameras are off, but you have to talk about like who's in the NBA playoffs. Like you have to talk about stuff that like we won't air because it's time stamped, right? Mm-hmm. So we meet and he comes up and he's like, hi, I'm Adam. And I'm like, nice to meet you, Adam. And then we talk for a little bit and then the cameras go off. And then the sound guy goes, what was your name again, man? He goes, I'm Todd. And I was like, Todd. So I'm like, oh, okay. So then we get back in and I'm like, what did you say your name was again? He goes, it's Adam. I'm like, oh, I thought you said Todd. And he goes, oh yeah, Todd. Todd's a good guy. Todd's a good guy. And I was like, are you speaking in the third person or are you just saying all Todds are awesome? Then he showed me a tattoo on his arm that had an ATQ and he said, Adam Todd Quantum. That's me. And that was the beginning of the day. And then everything was kind of fine. It was super weird. And then we got stuck in traffic on the way to dinner. And then he basically told me that he only fucked hot models. Which I wasn't as cute then, right? Like I aged well, thank God. Thank God when Tom posted that, a lot of people messaged me. They're like, you look a lot better now. I'm like, thank God. But like, he started like just saying a lot of really crass shit. And so we got in this huge fight. And the sound guy after the show was like, I was terrified you were going to get out of the car in the middle of La Cienega and we were going to have to figure out how to like film you leaving. So we get in the fight, we get to dinner. the producer meets me in the bathroom. We're supposed to like change. And she's like, look, girl, I know this sucks. Truthfully, we need good TV and we wanted you on the TV, but you're not as crazy as the other people. So we had to pair you with a crazy person in order to make good TV.
Oh,
and I was like, cool. And she goes, I get it if you want to leave. Try to make it to the hot tub. If you can't make it to the hot tub, we want it to be real. So if you would walk out, but try to make it to the hot tub. And I was like, okay. Mid-dinner, I just couldn't do it. He was so bad. And finally I was like, he goes, why are you even here? You don't even look like you're having fun. And I was like, dude, I've been asking myself that for hours. And he goes, well, then leave. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go. And then I ran into the guy at Saddle Ranch of all places on my 22nd birthday, like 3 months later or whatever. And he comes up and he's like, hey, and I was super drunk. And I was like, boo. I'm like, this is the guy. And my friends are like, boo. And he's like, I'm not really like that. I just really wanted to get on TV. And I was like, you're a loser. And then I pushed up his hat and never saw him again.
Such a LA story. I love it. I mean, that's cool that the producer was real with you. I wonder how real they are with those shows. Like, I know some of them are realer than others, but you know.
Everyone I've been on, they've been really cool to me. Like the producers are like what has always made the show is that they're just really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I did want to get on The Bachelor. I was talking to a comic who works on it. And I was like, oh man, I want to get on The Bachelor so bad. And he's like, I'm not going to help you. I'm like, why? He goes, because The Bachelor works like this. Oh, there's Kym. She's a sweet, pretty girl. Let's ruin her life. Like some of them. And I was on a show where it was a dating in the dark, where once you picked each other, you saw each other in the light, and then you decided if you wanted to date or whatever. And he was very attractive. And I was like, of course I want to date him. He's very attractive and we had a good time. But the producers were like, can you make it look like it's a hard decision for you? Like, can we film you looking out and like debating? And I was like, fine. So he had this earring, this big gold, stupid earring that I mentioned once. They were like, what do you like? In the post interview after seeing him, they were like, what do you think? What did you think? And I was like, oh, very attractive, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, he did have that weird earring. And then they found it. Then they asked me 53,000 questions about that earring. And then when it aired, they made it seem like I had gone on for at least 10 minutes about this earring. There were message boards calling me names that this guy is so sweet. And I can't believe that girl would like, they said things about my hair. To be fair, I didn't wash it for most of the show, which was on me. But so they will edit it. But most of the producers have been really forthcoming and nice. So I've had good experiences.
Well, that's good. I mean, like I said, it's for me, I think the ones I'd want to do, like ones you can't do right now, like Amazing Race or like Shark Tank or something like that. Something that's a little bit more real.
And a lot of these people are still my friends. Like a decade later, I still am in touch with, like, there's someone that I met on a reality show that we're still friends. There's a couple of girls that I'm still like close. Oh, Erin Darling. Do you know who that is?
Yeah.
She and I met on a reality show. We've been friends for like 8 years. Yeah.
Wow, that's nuts. Like
I had a lot of really
random people. I met I almost roomed before I moved here. I almost roomed with someone that was on The Bachelor that season. She was like one of the top 3 people or something. And she was
what season?
It was, oh God, I don't remember. She was the one that was like a fan of taxidermy or whatever, but she had like this cool house.
Oh, Kendall.
And she was super nice. She was like, we FaceTimed. I was still in Chicago and I was FaceTiming her. And we FaceTimed and chatted. And it turned out the person that was going to leave the house decided not to. But it was like a really good deal in Hollywood. Like it had a private bathroom with like a bidet, which impressed me for some reason. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. But it ended up I live somewhere else, and that's totally fine. But she was super nice and down to earth and fun to chat with and very likable. Like I had no problem, with that. But she was just like heads up, my life might get a little crazy once this airs. And I was like, okay. But
I love I'm friends with a guy who was on The Bachelor, and we had him. It's so funny, just like the conception of people, like the preconceived notion people have of these reality people. So I asked this guy to be on the Kym and Ken show when I had that with Ken Gar. And Ken, our sound producer, everyone was like, the Bachelor, he's going to be so annoying and gross. And like, he's just going to be such like a bro. And by the end of it, Darren was our sound engineer. Darren and Ken were taking more pictures with this dude than I was because he was so nice and so cool.
Well, who's also nice is Katie Carzola too. She was in the she had her own like reality show. She's the one that had like the tea company and knows a bunch of the Vanderpumps. Like I guess she's a comic too, and she's like down to earth and like pretty chill. I mean, nice. That kind of thing.
Such a weird world we live in. Anytime I tell my family about any of this, they're just like, my cousin like a couple of weeks ago was just like, I don't get your life. She's like, you just have a weird life. Like,
LA is a different life. And like, there are some things I didn't know about LA until I moved here. Like, for example, I had a cousin that was like, oh, they're bringing back Supermarket Suite. How do you get on? And I was like, I messaged her. I was like, I hate to burst your bubble, but almost all the game shows, aside from a couple, like Price is Right, usually cast. And I sent her a link to the casting description, the casting website. I was like, sorry, but this is how it is nowadays. That's just, and they usually cast from LA. And you can tell, like when I watched like me and my roommate watched the, what's it called? Like the floor is lava. Have you seen that on Netflix?
No, what?
It's a weird game show. Like, did you ever play that game as kids where you're like jumping on furniture, or you're pretending the floor is lava and you can't touch the ground?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they made a TV show about that. They used the old IKEA in Burbank, like the old IKEA, and they turned it into like a soundstage where they had like this lava liquidy thing, and people had to do an obstacle course, and it's like a team of 3 people, and you have to pretend the floor is lava, and you like actually sink into it or whatever. So like you're trying to win money and prizes, and it's very clear the teams on there that are real people and the teams on there that are actors.
Yeah, I want to be on that show.
Hey, maybe we could submit together.
I would do. I would love that. Like
we actually know each other, and who would be our third person though? That's the question.
Mark Stevens.
Mark Stevens. We'll see if you listen to this. If you want to do Floor's Lava with us, let us know.
Do you ever name drop your friends in your podcast to see if they actually listen?
This is the first time I've done this, I think. I don't usually do a test like that. I think he would listen because I'm interviewing you too. So, but it's also, I haven't put out a podcast in a while, so this is the first one in a little bit. So, so it'll be interesting.
Oh, that's exciting. Yeah, I love that.
Because this is my first, because I was like, COVID, having a podcast in my bed isn't exactly COVID friendly. So experimenting with doing remote podcasting, and I appreciate you being part of that experiment.
Yay, thank you.
And also dressing up and wearing pajamas and stuff too, and staying with me. Those are sexy. Those are cute.
I've had these for so long, and when you were like, wear pajamas, I was like, do I have anything cute? My best friend in high school bought these when she was stationed in South Korea 18 years ago, and I literally just have kept them and never worn them. And then last night I decided to try and wear them to bed, and I was like, what have I been doing with my life? These are so comfortable, and so they're matching shorts. They're really risque, so I'm not. Also, if I stand up, I feel like a lot might happen. Like the mic may fall. Like a lot might happen, but they're so comfortable. So I'm glad I got a chance to wear them.
I know. I'm glad you got to show them. Like, and it's amazing how much you feel, how much better you might feel like sleeping, like in like a silky, like under, like guys forget, like we wear sexy underwear and sexy things for ourselves too.
Yeah. I haven't had sex since November, and I know. What are you going to do? You know what I mean? I tried to the other night. It just didn't pan out.
Yeah.
He also, I'm going to talk about this in my own podcast, but he also did a thing while we were fooling around, and it wasn't abusive, but it was super fucking weird. He hit me in the face. Like,
what?
Smacked me across the face, and I went, like, whoa, hard? What are you?
Like hard or playful? Like, or either way, it's fucked up, but...
It wasn't hard, but it was I'm so sweaty. I keep looking at myself.
You're fine.
It was hard, but like it was jarring. It was like it startled me, and I went, "Whoa, what are you doing?" And he went, "Oh, you don't like that?" And I was like, "Getting hit in the face?
That? Like, I get."
Yeah, and he goes, "Oh, okay." And I didn't really like it. Didn't read, and then we just kept going. And then the next day, I thought about it. I was like, "Did he hit me in the face?"
I don't know.
Yeah, he did.
Hear that, but being hit in the face is not a normal thing that people like. Like, that's not a normal thing. So
That's the thing you should talk. That's a thing. You're with someone for a little bit, and you've had sex a bunch, and you go like the role playing, and you go, I've always wanted to be punched in the face. It was so weird.
that's so weird. Like, I would literally just stop at that moment and been like, get the fuck out. Like, what are you doing? Like, that's insane. Like, it's one thing to like smack the ass.
Tequila
Like,
was involved. Don't judge me. Tequila.
oh, tequila. Okay, yeah.
I wasn't like, get the fuck out. I was just like, whoa, that's why it took me a minute to like register. And he was like, I'm sorry. I thought that maybe you'd like that. Like, I didn't, let me make sure I'm clear. I never was scared.
Okay,
it was just
good.
really, yeah, it was really weird.
Yeah, it's one of those really weird things.
Yeah, I dated this guy for a little bit that like, was waking up, not waking up, but like I was getting a increasingly bigger black eye, and I couldn't figure out where this fucking black eye was coming from, and it wasn't going away. And he was like, that's crazy. And we were both like, this is crazy. Like, just this black eye. And then like, I don't know, a couple weeks in, I woke up in the middle of the night and he was sleep hitting me. He was sound asleep and he was hitting me in the face. And I was like, whoa, Justin, wake up. And he's like, what? I'm like, you're giving me the black eye. And he's like, oh my God. And it's funny because we're now still friends, like a decade later. And I bring it up and he feels so bad. He's like, I didn't mean to give you a black eye. I'm like, I know it was in your sleep, but it's so funny that we were both just like the mystery of the black eye. It was really.
And this is not the first time someone's talked about accidentally hitting somebody in their sleep and stuff, because I talk about weird sleep stuff too on the podcast. So it's like, I've had other people that had issues kicking and accidentally hitting people in their sleep. And it's awful, but at least you figured out the problem. Man, that's so weird. But I'm glad,
So weird. Yeah. But yeah, that guy hit me the other night. It was very weird. It was
very weird. Are you going to see him again? Are you going to see him again?
No.
Didn't think so.
He also, no. I think I'm going to listen to myself from here on out. And also, I've already read that book. Why do I keep thinking there's going to be a different ending? You know what I mean? Like, every time I go back to someone, I'm like, I've read this book. It's literally the same ending every time.
Yeah. I think like after a certain amount of time it goes by, people can be quite different people. Like, I'm pretty different than I was like 4 or 5 years ago, maybe, so I think if it's a significant amount of time, but if it's somebody you dated like a couple years ago, like, yeah.
And that's the thing, like, I'm night and day who I was when I was with him, when we dated, but like, he's not. He's kind of the same guy. Yeah. But like, I don't know. I feel like, I guess I'm not opposed to giving people a second chance years later, but I can't think of a single dude I've ever dated. Well, the New Yorker, the one who was scared of my heels. I'll always have a candle burning in my heart for you, Chris. Always.
I love the shout outs. That's awesome. But yeah, so that's awesome. So we're starting to wind down the podcast or everything. And what I always ask people at the end of the podcast, I know we didn't really talk about that many sleep things, but like, what are your dreams overall, the future goals, dreams, whatever, for yourself?
Like, for myself, or what I actually dream when I'm asleep?
For yourself, unless you have a really interesting dream story that you want to share.
No, they're usually, no. But I just started my podcast, and I feel like I want to make it like a round table one day. It might go to Dash Comedy Radio, which is super exciting. That's in the works. I'm not supposed to say too much, but I'm calling the guy today, and hopefully we'll have more news. But like, eventually the main goal, and it's so weird. It's about sharing too. You know what I mean? When you have goals, you should also share, but I'm like still self-conscious about it. I want to make Crawl Space like a Chelsea Lately round table on like E! Or Comedy Central. And like, I have a bunch of segments and all that stuff. And so I have that goal. And then I'm a writer. I'm writing a book. So I want to write a couple of other books. And then of course tour. But I want to tour I'd like to tour when I have more of a name. I've toured not having a name, and it's very little money, and it's very, 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 and as a woman, it's hard too, because like, men are like, oh, y'all can cram in one hotel. It's hard to bring the one girl because like, until, whatever. But so tour, but writing and the podcast is the
That's awesome. Those are great goals. Well, thank
Thank
you so
you.
much for doing the podcast and sleeping with me remotely.
Yeah, I know. This is nice. This is the most comfortable I've ever been in a podcast. So thank you.
Yeah, that's what I aim for. Comfortability, relaxing. Thanks for listening to Sleeping with Sarah, where I slept with Kym Kral. Be sure to check out Kym's podcast, Kral Space, and follow her on Instagram and Twitter at Kym Kral. That's KymKral. If you like the podcast, please rate, review, and subscribe. I'll be releasing a new podcast each week, so tune in to find out who I have in bed with me next. A big thanks to Josh Bryant for the music. If you want to find out more about me, go to sleepysarah.com or follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Sarah Albritton. Remember, Black Lives Matter, climate change is real, and everyone deserves equality. Until next time, good night.